Donald Trump has his legal team, and one of the most noteworthy members of it is Alan Dershowitz. Now, he cautions you, Dershowitz, that he's not a full member of the legal team. He's mostly just going to be adjudicating on what the Constitution has to say about what merits removal, which is interesting because what he believes the Constitution says on removal has changed a lot over the years. So I want to take you back to the late 90s, back during the Clinton impeachment. Here's what Alan Dershowitz had to say about removing a president then.
It certainly doesn't have to be a crime. If you have somebody who completely corrupts the office of president and who abuses trust and who poses great danger to our liberty, you don't need a technical crime. But remember that because the executive power is vested in one person, the president, unlike the judicial power, which is vested in justices of the Supreme Court and inferior judges, or the legislative power in 100 senators and 400 and something representatives, we have one president. And to impeach a president is like a nonviolent revolution. It is the most dramatic act of undoing democracy that is possible, and that's why the framers used the term treason, bribery, high crimes and misdemeanors to suggest the English analogy to great offenses of state. We look at their acts of state. We look at how they conduct the foreign policy. We look at whether they try to subvert the Constitution the way IranContra did by going behind the back of Congress, by lying repeatedly, and by misstating to the American public matters of great state issues. And we didn't impeach, and we shouldn't, frankly, if it were my view, we shouldn't have impeached the presidents for IranContra, but it's not even a close question historically.
Okay, so not even a close question. That is amazing. Not only because he is directly firing back against this new idea that no, you have to have a very specific, narrowly defined crime. He was saying, no, just abuse of office and not being statesmanlike and abusing the trust and lying. All this general language, that's all you really need. And he even used IranContra as an example, which is amazing because we just got out of a couple weeks of Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump and all of them lying constantly about the justification for us narrowly missing war with Iran. They kept lying about why they needed to do that strike. And so it couldn't have fit up more perfectly with what Alan Dershowitz was saying right there. But all you have to do is look at their behavior. It doesn't have to be a specific crime. And now he is gonna go on the floor of the Senate and argue the exact opposite. So thankfully, Anderson Cooper actually asked him about that video. Here's his response.
Well, that's true. You don't need a technical crime. That's my position today. I've said right from the beginning, you need criminal-like behavior akin to bribery and treason. Remember that in the Clinton
that's not
case,
what you said then.
There was no, that's what I said then. It's what I said now. You don't need a technical crime.
You didn't say criminal-like behavior. You said somebody corrupts the office of president and abuses trust and poses great danger to
because the issue, that issue was not before anybody. Clinton, in the Clinton case, he was charged with a crime. Now the issue is whether or not you need criminal type behavior. I've done a lot more research. Back then, I took the word of many academics who said that.
So
I've now done the research. No, I wasn't wrong. What I have a more sophisticated basis for my argument now, having read Justice Curtis's opinion and other opinions. It's very clear now that what you need is criminal-like behavior akin to bribery and treason. What is very clear is obstruction of justice, obstruction of Congress, or abuse of power.
Mind-blowing. Here's, I know this is gonna seem weird. You expect that I'm gonna talk about Trump and impeachment or whatever. Here is one of the reasons why someone like Bernie Sanders is liked so much by his supporters. Because he is consistent and because he is honest. Because for most people in DC, that is what you get. It doesn't matter how directly they contradict themselves, they were never wrong. So what he's saying is, he disagrees with himself in the 90s, and he's right now, but he also wasn't wrong then. He's just more right now. He totally disagrees, both were right, this is more right, even though they say directly opposite things. And this is why nobody trusts anybody in politics. Why can no one admit when they were wrong? Wrong now, wrong in the past. You say that you evolved, you have a more sophisticated understanding, but you were still right before it was more sophisticated. It is maddening the amount of sheer hypocrisy that is allowed. And it's good that Anderson Cooper's calling him out for it, but does it really matter? the best we ever get in this system is that people who disagree with someone can acknowledge when they're being hypocritical. But unfortunately, most people are way too willing to give people a pass when it's someone they agree with, who's clearly changing their position opportunistically based on what's going on right now. That is what Alan Dershowitz is doing. And it's important because he's not just a generalized advisor to Donald Trump during this process. He is specifically coming on, purporting himself to be an expert in what the Constitution says about impeachment. And he can't seem to even decide for himself what it means. It is totally based on the partisan implications. You know, he wanted to get Clinton out, he doesn't want to get Trump out. And so the Constitution says whatever it has to say. It is pathetic. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.